Okay, so I guess we can start. Welcome you all to the first Let's Manage IT webinar. My name is Krzysztof Kozakiewicz, and I will host this webinar for you. I'm very happy to have you all here. I guess we have currently we have 27 people in a room, so it's a great number, and hopefully some will come and we'll have a chance to see the video afterwards. My great pleasure actually to welcome also one and only Mike Orzen from Portland. Actually, this presentation supposed to took place in a few months ago during the conference in Gdynia on IT Manager of Tomorrow 2017. But as Mike, you remember, we had some issue, but it's good that eventually, it's good that we eventually have it now, and it's great to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said, I'm currently now in Krakow, where we meet together with Mike in a few months. For those who don't know, Mike will be our special guest and a keynote speaker at Lean IT Forum on 21st March in 2019 in Krakow. So you are very welcome to see the event and also to register and be there together with us. Mike will also deliver a masterclass. Probably Mike will tell a few more words about it. So yeah, that's all from me. I wish you nice listening. And yeah, someone wrote that doesn't work. What doesn't work?
Yep, it looks like we're good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
No, Mike, wait please a moment, because I can see on the... Yeah. Okay, some people wrote that it works, some doesn't work, but I don't know what the issue. So, so yeah.
Huh.
So Mike, you can continue, and I will turn on the survey we prepared, because we wanted to start with some questions for you. So Mike, you can continue.
Yes, please. Right now. Okay, great. Yeah, we just kind of wanted to take a pulse of the group. First of all, good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to share some ideas. Just to get a feel for the group that we have today, if you could answer the questions. Are you currently leading a team in Lean, Agile, DevOps? Are you driving a Lean or Agile initiative right now? And what's your level of expertise around these topics of Lean IT, Agile, and DevOps? Are you an expert? This is something you know very well, or are you kind of just getting started? This will just kind of give us a pulse on where we are. So, Krzysztof, I'll let you show the results. So interesting. So it looks like the vast majority of people certainly have experience in leadership. About a third are getting started in Lean and Agile, and for those that responded, and the remainder are just kind of getting started, which is very, very common. Makes a lot of sense. And then in terms of we've got a decent group of people that know these concepts very well, some that have heard about them, and again, about half the group that might just be getting started. Makes perfect sense. Nobody said I'm an expert, and I would not. I think anyone that says they're an expert in Lean IT, Agile, or DevOps probably doesn't understand it because it's constantly a learning challenge. It's very much like IT. If you might understand something today, but by tomorrow you're going to be challenged with a new idea, a new obstacle. So that's interesting. Okay, good. let's go back to our presentation. I'm really looking forward to coming out in March of next year. Looks like we've got a very exciting lineup right now of some very impressive professionals and practitioners, so we can move away from the theory and talk much more about the practice of driving Lean IT, driving Agile, and driving DevOps. All three of these we're going to talk about in a second really complement each other along with service management. So if we could, why don't we just start the, also I'll be offering a masterclass on March 22nd and 23rd. This is a hands-on class where we'll be learning very specifically some key skills around how to lead and really connect with teams to create this kind of high performance environment. So really exciting. Again, lots of exercises, lots of learning by doing, and I think that's how most of us learn best. So from there, if we could, do I have control here? It looks like I do. Let's just move forward. I've been doing this for a long time, over 20 years now, basically process improvement and lean transformation with a primary focus on IT, how it relates in an IT environment, service environment, banking and insurance, manufacturing, healthcare. Everyone, of course, relies on technology and information, and lean thinking always applies and always adds value. I work with the Lean Enterprise Institute, the Shingo Institute, and the Ohio State University, and have written a couple of books on the topic, Lean IT and the Lean IT Field Guide. That's plenty about me. What we really want to talk about today is what I feel in many ways is an ingredient that we're not paying enough attention to. And that is, how do I create trust, and why? Let's talk about why trust is so important. I love this quote from Dr. Stephen Covey, who says, "Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication, foundational principle that holds all relationships together." And I believe I had an opportunity to meet Dr. Covey before he passed away. And I believe what he was referring to is the fact that without a mutual trust, there is basically, we have fear. And when we have fear in the workplace, we don't get the level of engagement, we don't get the creativity, we don't get the teamwork and the collaboration that's necessary to move forward for Agile, for DevOps, for any kind of Lean IT application that doesn't work. And I'm reminded of the beautiful redwood trees. A redwood tree is very much, and that's what that picture is very much like trust. So it turns out it takes 2,000 years for a redwood tree to reach maturity. 2,000 years. That's a little bit like trust. It takes a long time to build and to grow. Unfortunately, if you wanted to cut down a redwood tree, it would just take a matter of minutes with the right equipment. And trust is very fragile too. We can destroy trust very quickly by our actions and by the way we treat people. This is an element that's so important that I think if we just ignore it, we're setting ourselves up for failure. So let's go a little bit deeper. If we look at where we are today in the IT environment, we've had service management for decades. We've had Agile for quite a while, and of course we've had the core concepts of Lean IT. In the last few years, DevOps has also stepped onto the stage. But if you look at all of these disciplines, all of these practices, they require people to take risks, to try new things, and to experiment. You do not take risks, try new things, or experiment when you feel unsafe. So this element of trust is essential, absolutely essential. And in the high performance teams that I've been lucky enough to work with, the trust is very, very strong. And even when the team is challenged, the trust it kind of rises to that occasion and doesn't seem to be threatened. If we go a little bit deeper and look at really at the essence, all of this, whether we're talking continuous service improvement, lean IT, improvement from an agile retrospective, or continuous feedback loops in DevOps, we're really talking about core lean concepts that have been around for over 50 years now. The core lean concepts rely on a platform of learning cycles. So we see at the bottom of the screen, daily problem solving, plan, do, check, adjust. We're doing this every single day. So we get our people to start thinking this way. This is a cycle of experimentation. And again, it requires a great deal of trust. If we look at the top of the diagram, these are our ultimate goals for our organization. We want great quality, we want high productivity, we want to control our costs, we need to deliver on time, we need strong team morale, and we also need safety in our team. And that's social safety is what we're talking about here. The safety to talk about the real problems, to move away from blaming people towards solving problems. In the left pillar, this is what most people think of when they think of lean and applying lean to IT. How can we improve our processes? How can we get everybody involved, do methodical improvement, continuous improvement called Kaizen? How can we tap into problem solving and manage the value streams of the business and the value streams of IT? That's super important and that's great. But without the pillar on the right, this house will actually fall down. The pillar on the right is all about respect for people. And notice that second bullet. We engage people by fostering or building trust. And if you look at many companies and ask them, what are we doing to really reinforce, build, and grow trust on our team? Often the answer is, well, we don't have anything specific, but we talk to our people and we try to be friendly. And that's just not deep enough. I think sometimes what we end up doing is undermining trust unintentionally. So really that's what the focus of today's brief discussion is. I think everybody on the call is very familiar with the challenges of IT. Traditionally, we have this wall between our development group and our operations group. We have additional walls between our security group, between our infrastructure group. We have multiple environments, not just a single development environment, a test environment, and a prod environment, but many iterations that create additional challenges and issues. And often what we see is there are multiple tools, multiple languages, and a layer of technical debt on everything. So what I see in many organizations is we spend most of our time simply fighting fires and we're in reactive mode. Very difficult to make advances and truly create the speed that we need to keep up with the business while maintaining the stability to be strong and to be available for the business and our customers. So we're familiar with this kind of challenge, and this is what most of us live every day. But it turns out that all the Agile and DevOps tools in the world and all the automation in the world isn't enough. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. What we need is people to really engage. So when we talk about lean thinking, we're really talking about people that can identify, analyze, experiment, reflect, discover, learn, and share. So this is a learning cycle once again, and I've got to be comfortable and trusting enough to want to step out and actually try this. It's a little bit like saying to somebody, you need to walk out to the edge of the diving board and jump into the deep end of the swimming pool. And if the person is uncertain, they need to really trust the coach. They need to trust the environment, trust the team, or they're never going to dare go out to the edge of the diving board and jump. And we need everybody on the team taking that plunge and moving forward. So a few key points about trust. I would suggest, after many years of looking at this and focusing so much on the tools and the methodology of Agile and Lean, that I would suggest that trust is the most important element, because I can have all the tools in place, but if I'm missing the trust on the team, it just won't work. It'll get me a short improvement, but I cannot sustain it. I cannot hold the gains. This is especially true in IT, where we're under so much pressure and there's so much challenge and there's so much change at a high pace. So when I have high trust, I have high degrees of engagement of my workforce, and I have teams that hold each other up and kind of enforce a higher norm or expectation of performance. So I have a highly effective work environment. Also, when I trust people, I give them a lot more space, because we've got confidence in their capability to know what they know what they don't know, and make good judgments when they need to learn something or run an experiment. So real trust works in what I like to say two directions. So one direction, think of this direction as inward looking. We need work systems that enable people to do great work, but do not check them, spy on them, blame them, or set them up for non-value added steps simply to prove that they're doing the right thing. So if you look at many work systems, they have an implicit distrust of people. In other words, there's work systems that have numerous views and checks and balances and extra sign-offs and authority, or a lack of flexibility for the person to get the work done. And often what that communicates to the people is they're not trusted. Now, if we also look at outward from the team, if we've got real trust, the team is highly engaged in improvement activity. They have ideas, they're running experiments, they're implementing change. And often what I see is, if we don't have one, we definitely don't have the other. What I mean is, when we have work systems that clearly don't trust people, the degree of improvement and engagement from the team, the degree of experiments, the degree of let's try something new, the degree of using a visual management system or lean behavior, it's just not there. So I think the two really go hand in hand. So how to kill trust? So this is what I've seen in so many situations, and that is, we ultimately distrust people. And even if we don't intentionally say we're distrusting people, our environment says that, because we've built systems and rules to make sure people are doing the right thing. So we have excessive reviews. We have measurements that are used mostly to check and unfortunately blame people. So when there's something that's not working right, the first question seems to be, who is responsible? And that person is criticized or blamed or even punished. And of course, that does not generate any kind of trust whatsoever. When people see that measurements are really a feedback of the health of the work system, not an opinion of their value or whether they're doing a good job, then measurements and targets become a very, very good tool to drive improvement and performance. Also, we see very little recognition. The only recognition is negative recognition. In other words, I talk to many people in IT that say, we only hear something if something breaks. We only get a call or somebody comes by to talk to us only when there's a problem. Well, that's not good. We need positive recognition when it's earned. So it's got to be real, it's got to be specific, and it's got to be genuine. But no recognition at all keeps people in the dark and lowers trust. And last of all, sharing of information. I talk to a lot of people in IT and they only have information on their silo, their application, their function. And they really don't know much about the rest of IT, let alone the rest of the business, the health of the business, the purpose, the direction, the vision, the strategy. So they're really not included. Well, when I don't include you, you're not going to trust me. So this is very important. And these, I think, are the most common things I see out there that actually undermine trust. How to build trust. So people need feedback. This is one of the strongest messages that has come out of the DevOps movement. If you're doing anything with DevOps or you've read about DevOps, we set up rapid feedback loops so people are getting confirmation that something is working or not working as quickly as possible. So I like to ask, how does the team know if they're winning or losing? How do they know that? And is it easy for them to see? If it isn't easy, then we need to address it. It'd be like going to a soccer match and there not being a scoreboard. There's no way the team is going to be able to adjust or respond properly if they don't know if they're ahead or behind, how much time is left in the half, who's in the game, who's fouled out, that kind of thing. So perhaps the number one or most common thing that I would suggest if you really want to build trust is to stop accepting broken processes. And when I say broken business processes, I'm talking about work that we do today that we know is not done effectively or efficiently, but we put up with it. An example would be, I always, whenever I get this work, I know I'm going to have to spend 3 additional days fixing problems, whatever that happens to be, whether that would be code that I'm reviewing in a test mode, maybe problem management that's been escalated because somebody didn't do their job. It could be anything. But basically, what's happened over the years is rework, non-value added work, corrections, and mistakes have crept in so they look like they are the work. They should not be part of the work. And most organizations have become blind to this and they just accept it. So senseless meetings that accomplish very little, many business process steps that do little or nothing, lots of redos or redundancies in any process. All of these things are accepting broken processes. When we accept a broken process, we're not building trust. We're saying, this is the way it works, just get used to it. We also need to ask and implement ideas as frequently as we can. So when people understand that they can make suggestions and actually those suggestions get deployed, they engage and they start feeling really good. If people ask your opinion and you share it and they do nothing, then they don't feel like they're respected or they're trusted. We also need to develop authentic relationships. Now, what I mean by this is I'll walk into a department and say, can you tell me about that person? And they'll say, oh, yes, that is Bartov. He's been working here for 5 years and he's a systems analyst. Can you tell me anything else about him? Well, I told you, he's been working here for X number of years and he's an analyst. Yes, but who is he as a person? What are his interests? What does he like to do? What are his strengths? What are his dreams? Does he have kids? Does he have a family? We need to connect with people at that level. And if you say, look, I don't have the time to be friends with everybody that works for me, we're not really talking about being friends. You don't have to go out and drink with these people. You don't have to go out and just hang out on the weekend. But you do need to know them a little more deeply than just what is their job. What's their personality? What makes them happy? What are their goals? What are they trying to accomplish? The more you attempt to create an authentic relationship, the higher the trust level is. And last but not least, we need to create a transparent workplace. This is the idea that information is readily available and teams really can very easily determine what are the issues, what's the status of those issues, what are we doing to fix those broken processes. So we have a system in place that really shines the light of day on all information and says this is all accessible to everyone. So I've talked about the work system, these work systems before, but I just want to touch on them in terms of trust. When we have a daily management system, which includes metrics and targets, we're doing team stand-ups, we have standard work, we have leader standard work, we've made the work visual in a visual management system. This drives collaboration, deeper communications, and it certainly increases the degree of trust. When we have ongoing problem solving, where we're using A3 problem solving, value stream mapping, and we're really going through that foundation of lean thinking that we talked about on the other slide, plan, do, check, adjust, we're once again going to people and saying, you're closest to the work. Let's use structured problem solving to make your life better. When we develop people with a frequent go and see, we're going to Gemba and people are seeing their leaders. If there's one thing you can start doing tomorrow, if you're not doing it now, and that is people need to see their leaders on a frequent basis. Now, if you are responsible for 20 different teams, your frequency might have to be once a month. But if you've got 2 or 3 teams that you're responsible for, those teams ought to be seeing you almost every day. If not every day, then every other day. You need to be where the work is. You need to talk to those people. You need to go to their stand-ups, their team huddles, and hear what the issues are. You also need to consider coaching. So coaching is a key skill that can be developed over time. And the reason we're going to Gemba, the reason we're coaching, is we're demonstrating leading with respect, which was a workshop that we offered last year. And these are core practices, again, to connect with people and create authentic trust and relationships. And last but not least, we need alignment in our organization. So we need the visual management system, the VMS, needs to be linked between the front line to middle management, all the way up to the leadership level. And when this is in place, people can see how their daily work directly contributes to the goals of the organization. If they can't answer that question, then they really don't understand why their work is important. Once we get the alignment, we can start doing problem solving, and the A3 problem solving that we just talked about can actually be linked. So we can have problem solving at the team level that rolls up to problem solving at the director or middle management level that rolls all the way up to a strategic objective at the leadership level. And that is what we mean by cascading A3s. And last of all, we need an internal system of assessment. This is not an audit. This is just where a team says, what are we good at? Where do we need to improve? What is our gap? If we're doing these kind of things, we created an amazing environment of engagement and trust. And I see when this is in place, performance just goes through the roof. We get higher quality, much fewer problems on release, and we actually take advantage of everything that Agile, DevOps, and Lean IT can deliver. But without the trust, we can go through the motions, we can automate, we can have infrastructure as code, it all looks good, we're trying to do continuous deployment, but at the end of the day, there's no trust, so we still don't really optimize the improvements we're making. So a final thought. If you're serious about this, we've got to keep commitments. So the most effective way to build trust is to make and keep commitments. So a common mistake I see is we overpromise and underdeliver. So what I would suggest is if you're rolling this out to your team, your IT organization, this is good. Don't overpromise. Don't say, you know, this is going to solve all our problems, or this is going to make things so wonderful. It's better to frame this as an experiment. So we're trying this. We feel that if we introduce these systems, for example, teams will be able to understand whether they're winning or losing. That will give us higher visibility, and we ought to have better performance. Let's go run the experiment and find out. That's the important piece. What we don't want to is tell people that we're rolling out Agile and all teams are going to be high performance Agile teams, and we don't follow through. Unfortunately, I've seen this happen before, and teams no longer trust leadership because they realize that it's just another broken promise. So very important that we're consistent in what we do. So with that, I think we've got a few minutes. We can open this up to questions or comments, and I want to thank you for your time.
Yes, so thank you, Mike. I wrote to you on a chat that if you have any question, please type them there in the chat, and I will ask Mike and ask for the answer. Yes, I can see that there are no questions from your side. Not yet, actually. Oh, nice question. How to build the trust over Skype?
Oh, that
Yeah,
is
so
a
if
great
I mean,
question.
I guess if you have a virtual team, yeah, Mike. So how to build the trust
Yeah.
in this kind of situation?
So I'm dealing with that right now with a very large insurance company that's spread out all over the world. And I believe that the answer is the tool that we're using right now. We need face-to-face communication. So this can be challenging, but the first thing we need to do is come up with a technology like a Skype where we can actually see people's faces. And I'm working with one team. We have a few basic rules. Rule number one is you've got to have your camera on. You can't turn your camera off and start multitasking. Now, so that, and rule number two is the person facilitating the meeting makes an effort to check in with the other person online. So we'll go around and we'll say, Christoph, what do you think about that? We'll give you a moment to unmute your connection and chime in. But we've got to have the facial recognition to make the connection. Very important. So I'm finding that is the way. That's the number one way we're doing it. We're using Skype or WebEx or some tool where we can connect and see each other. Now I see another good question. How to recover trust? So this is a great question. In other words, maybe we had trust years ago, but we've done things and are not done things, and now the team really is not trusting. And I would say the answer is start small. So again, don't promise them a lot. So start small. A great first step would be to say, let's put up a team visual board. And on the team visual board, we're going to have some core elements. One element, of course, is measurements, but these need to be measurements that the team cares about. The team cares about. And they need to be measurements the team can actually do something about. So don't have company sales up there if the team can't directly influence company sales, or customer satisfaction when the team only plays a small part in customer satisfaction. Instead, On an agile team, of course, we'd want to say, we'd probably look at story points generated, number of incidents after release, things like that. We'd be looking for their ability to perform. But that alone is not enough. That's a great start to have a scoreboard. But we also need on our visual board, we need an area where the team can indicate their boards. We call it the StressOmeter. And everybody gets a nice little avatar, whatever they want, Lord of the Rings or some cartoon character or Justice League or whatever. And they're ranking themselves. Basically, we have a kind of a 1 to 5 scale, where a 5 is I'm feeling really, really good, and a 1 is I'm not feeling good at all. And this could be based on anything that they want. It could be based on their workload or their stress or something happening at home. It doesn't matter. We just want to check in and know how the team is feeling. That's another key area. Another one is recognition. On our board, we've got a little area where we can say, I want to recognize this person. They followed through on a commitment. We got some feedback from a customer that we did a good job. Some kind of positive feedback and reinforcement. And we're just kind of touching on a general theme here. There's a lot more to the team board. But the point is, just ask yourself this question. How would I want to be treated on my team to create that level of trust? And the answer I suggest, the first answer is, how can we be transparent? How can we talk about what's working and what's not working without blaming people? And a visual board is a great first step. So that's what I would do. I would at least get started there. So there's another one here. What to do if you are obliged to follow broken processes and management avoids discussions about change. You guys have great questions. This is wonderful. So unfortunately, I see all too much of this. In other words, management says, this is the way it is. It's a broken process and suck it up. This is your job. Just deal with it. So what I suggest we do is, if I have a small team, sometimes the first step is for me to pull the team aside and say, can we identify a broken business process that is within our circle of control? Now, very quickly, most processes go and touch other departments and become much larger. But to begin with, can we take that portion of the process that we control, and can we fix it? Can we eliminate the redundancy, the waste? Let's start there. Once we start there and we fixed our section, or at least improved our section, we now go to another part of that business process. Usually it's our neighbor, it's the department that's giving us the input or receiving the output. And we say, we want to expand the scope of this improvement to include you. And basically what we're doing is we're trying to include the entire business process across the value stream, and we're doing it piece by piece. Instead of saying we need to get management on board, we need an initiative, we need a big program, we just say, we're going to do this ourselves. We're not going to wait. Now, you're going to have to ask yourself, can I do this politically? Is there safety in my company to start making an improvement just here, or is it something that I can't do? Next one was trust for what is this? 50 guys, if he failed, punish him so he will improve. Do you see that, Christoph?
Yeah, I can see. So the question is about how you handle both types of people. So you have 50 years old guy
Yes.
and 20 years millennials, and you know they have different expectations, and you might have a different approach. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So
I
you know that the
see.
50 years old guy, that for him or for her,
Yes,
fail means
I
punishment.
got it. Yes. And so that one requires where you sit down with somebody and just have an honest discussion where you say, that style of command and control is not what works today. I don't know if it ever did work, but that style is no longer appropriate in today's workplace. And you just share that and you're just honest about it. Uh, so that's what I do. There's many, that's the next point too. There's many different ages and many different styles. And I think all we need to do is, and the visual board will help as well as those 4 systems of trust. It doesn't matter what type we're dealing with. We just need to share this and make it very, very open. We also need to say, when somebody fails, instead of punishment, here's the question we need to ask, and write it on the board if we need to. What is it about our current broken business processes that led to this outcome? So there's no punishment, there's no blame, there's no targeting of people. The target is the process. This is essential. People will not trust if we keep attacking people, punishing, and making the problem all about the person. That's just not going to work. So we have to shift. And as leaders, we need to demonstrate that first. We need to do that before anyone else. Oh, my, there we go. Does that
There.
make sense?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. So,
Good.
Krzysztof actually answered that there's an issue in Poland, but yeah, it's a cultural thing. Yeah, and in order to build a trust, I strongly believe that what you said is true. So you need to change your approach.
Yep, I hear you. And these cultural shifts take time. I would say the most important thing is consistency and keeping the commitment, just like what we said earlier. So we don't make a lot of promises, we don't oversell this, and we don't really want to position it as a program. Programs come and go. This is more, well, we're trying something different. We're going to have a different approach on how we get together as a team. So a daily team stand-up talking about our problems is essential, just essential. And what do we do? How do we escalate those issues? And when something doesn't work, do we blame? So if we blame and punish, we need to be the first ones that say, we're still following our old habits. This is not who we want to be. We need to change.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, Mike, I'm looking forward to our Lean IT Forum conference, and I hope we will have some case studies on this topic. So how to, you know, the old organization with some legacy, how they run an initiative for the
Sure.
Agile, Lean, or the
Yeah,
DevOps, how they change the culture and behaviors and allow experimenting and
absolutely.
allow, you know, so this kind of discussion I hope to have emerge as well.
We certainly will, and we will have an opportunity to go a lot deeper than we have today. But I hope that today's discussion was still valuable for people.
Yeah, I believe so. And for all of you who it was the first time actually to hear or meet Mike, believe me, it was just a flavor. And you just felt the flavor of Big Mike Orzen. But it's definitely worth coming to the event in Krakow and meet Mike in person because it's a very inspirational experience, I would say. So you might join us on 21st of March in on the conference. And if you'd like to spend some more time and get some more insight on the topic, you can participate in the Microzen Masterclass on 22nd and 23rd of March. So highly welcome.
Fantastic. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me. And
Sorry, Mike,
you,
can you repeat?
I said thank you so much for having me today, and everybody have a great evening.
Yeah, and at the end, I will just turn on the video. So after movie from the last conference, Lean 94, where also Mike was a keynote speaker. So I will turn it on here.
The Lean IT Forum allowed us to have a good networking with the other people and possess new contacts and share our beliefs and thoughts about Lean, Agile and DevOps.
We had many great speakers. We had guests from abroad. We had Mike Orzen, who is a godfather of Lean IT.
So the Lean IT Forum is a pretty exciting place. I see a lot of professionals that are interested in learning new ideas, sharing, networking, lots of energy going on right now. And what I like is that we've got a diverse collection of leaders, thinkers, practitioners, and everybody's here really for one purpose, and that's to learn together.
What I think about Lean IT Forum, I think it's great that we are actually gathering in a so huge group of managers, business owners, and people working in IT.
Actually, we wanted to promote the Lean concept, Lean philosophy in IT environments. That's why we invite companies that already implemented, or there are somewhere in the journey implementing using Lean IT.
So it was a good experience to have in one place experts in Lean and also representatives of different companies. Especially interesting were those license talks where people were able to share their thoughts, not really connected with IT. Everyone had the chance to say something about what they have in their minds.
Now, as we have finished our day, we still have an opportunity for networking, and we are going to use it now.
This event was successful, and hopefully we're going to organize the second edition next year, and you are very welcome to participate in this.
Yes, so as we promised, we're going to organize the second edition of the Lean IT Forum, and it will take place in Krakow. Actually, last year was in Warsaw. We decided to move the event to Krakow. So please check the website leanitforum.com, and again, thank you very much for attending this first webinar, and also many thanks to Mike. Thank you for your time, and hope to see and hear you soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, goodbye, guys.